So at the beginning of turn 3 here in Italia, we started off with the Celts, and we can see there are a lot of them on the board now. What happened was they had 5 new units come in Helvetia, and they got some builds and spread out. They're hoping to avoid being subjugated and have some valuable territories there. Likewise, the Etruscans, they had a revolt. This is an option for them on turn 3. They got 2 bonus units and an extra unit, and they attacked Ravenna and took the city from the Romans. I don't know how long that's going to last, but they're allowed to subjugate, to submit still, so they may be better off by having grabbed that city now submitting, just to get a little bit more points off of that. They're small enough that they can still submit. I'm not sure quite where we ended last time. The Greeks had all of Sicily, but then Carthage made a landing here. There was a naval battle, and the Carthaginian navy was largely defeated. Illyrians did what Illyrians like to do, which is sit there and Illyricate. And the Romans, they attacked the Etruscans, and they attacked the Celts. And the Celts did not submit. They could have. Instead, they lost this territory, which was their big fight, and also a fight here. For the Etruscans, they did choose to submit, giving the Romans 2 more victory points. The value of this territory, which is what was attacked, was too much to allow the odds that they were facing. So actually, in a way, some victory points get burned because the Romans don't get the points for it, and the Etruscans only get half. It's a different dynamic than most of the games. I'll calculate out the victory points because this is a victory point turn, and I'll show you that, and then we'll go on. So I scored out the points for the victory point turn. The blue player, who's the Carthaginians, etc., is at 15.5. The yellow player's at 31.5. And the red player's at 53. And now this is one of the problems with these games, is it's really hard to tell who's actually in the lead or not. I'm pretty sure that the blue player's not doing well. But in all of the games of this series, the amount of points that each color group kind of gets, according to what they have for cards, isn't really indicative necessarily of how well they're doing in the game. So sometimes there's a lot of points hiding at some point in the game, which is why you really have to play these a couple of times to get a feel for them. Hispania is probably the most interesting of these because you get to bid on the countries that you want. So you pay points, and you're actually forced to pay at least a pretty hefty sum that you have to pay in Hispania for any country, close to what the supposed expected value is. Now, I've only played it solitaire. In my playings, I feel like those expected values are way off what the countries actually can make, and what they should make. Some of them have fairly high positives, like the Visigoths, and just I've not seen them stay on the map. They always point losers. Bad choice no matter what. Now, I think that's I may be reading a rule wrong, because when I play it with the color groups, the Visigoths do just as badly. I may be misunderstanding something. But in this game, I really don't know what's going on. I don't know who's in the lead, who's not. And it's one of the problems with playing these for the first time. A lot of times you look over and say, oh look, so-and-so, like in Britannia, the Romans, are way out in the lead. Well, they've got to be at that point in the game. And in this game, I'm not sure whether or not this is an unreasonable point score for the Romans, unreasonably high. I'm pretty sure that it has to be unreasonably low for the blue player. I mean, you look at the situation and you can tell, wow, the Etruscans are pretty hosed. although they probably should be at this point. Carthage looks like it's definitely doing worse than it did historically. The Greeks are doing better than they did historically. My gut tells me blue's not doing well. Okay, so here in the fourth turn of Italia, both the Celts and the Etruscans went, and they didn't do much. They just kind of fortified themselves in their position. Then we had a new country come into play, the Epirites. Pyrrhus, led by Pyrrhus. They basically swept both the other Greeks and what was left of the Carthaginians off of Sicily, and then netted them some 8 points. What they didn't do, and they could have, they had the option, the Samnites could have revolted on that. They chose not to, primarily because they think they're in a fairly decent position and don't want to give Rome an opportunity to take retribution against them at this point. The Greeks are limited down to just a navy now. There's not much they can do with that, but they are still in the game with it. Okay, that's the end of 4 turns here in Italia. And let me think what happened since last. We'd done the Epirites. The Greeks tried to attack and failed. The Carthaginians made an attempt at Lilybaeum and were repulsed. Illyrians actually advanced into Histria, just to put some pressure on the Celts. And on the Roman turn, they proceeded to invade Corsica and Sardinia. They got defeated, mutual elimination in Corsica. In Sardinia, they succeeded. There's not much they can do down here because the Samnites are their allies. Same thing with the Etruscans and the Etruscan navy. So they attacked the Celts, and the Celts subjugated themselves as well. So now we're in a situation where most of Italy is controlled by Rome or her allies. But Rome itself isn't in that great a shape. Some points were scored for all this. Rome's still at 55, or up at 55. The yellow player's up to 41.5. And the blue player's at 16, which does not bode well at all. Turn 5. I've gone through everything except the Roman turn, and not a lot's moved at all. Basically, this is a victory point turn, and people are trying to score their points. The Epirots moved their forces all the way onto Sicily, allowing room for the Samnites to move forward. Samnites have saved up a lot of money, enough to build an army. I'm not sure what they're trying to do with it. They've also given the Romans a lot of money, as have the Etruscans and the Celts. Again, it's not clear what the strategies are in this game because I'm not used to the patterns in it. The only real engagements that happened were some naval ones. The Greeks attacked the Etruscan fleet, and the Carthaginians drove off the Epirot fleet, even though they took losses. And that's the end of turn 5 on to turn 6. The Romans, in their move, did naval actions to grab the rest of the islands, and also did an invasion on Sicily, which partially succeeded. They attacked in both of these areas. They only took one. Summed up victory points. We're at the halfway point here. And what do we got? Well, neither the Etruscans nor the Illyrians produced many points, and the Carthaginians could get nothing because they can only get points outside of Africa at this turn. Over to yellow. Here we got the Celts. The Samnites produced good points, and that's kind of why I did what I did. And the Epiriots also produced good points, getting them to 59.25 points, which feels pretty good until I look at Rome, which pulled in 16.5, which is a little less than what yellow got, and the Greeks are pretty much dead. They're up to 71.5 though. So, I mean, it's pretty clear that there's this assumption to attack Rome. But I tend to feather my own nest as much as possible in a first playing of these, and I think people are going to have to start trying to degrade the Roman holdings. That's going to be tough, I'm pretty sure. Again, though, I don't know how the points play out at the end of the game. At this point, I would say everybody's pretty worried about Rome. It could be yellow's winning.